Good evening. Welcome back to My View. Over the past week, we've seen some of the worst of humanity. A mass shooter at Brown University, killing 2, hurting even more, and leaving behind traumatized survivors. A father and son in Australia, fueled by hate, turn a celebration of hope into a scene of bloodshed. A son in California accused of killing his own parents. These horrors weigh heavily on our country's collective conscience. And as details come out and investigations unfold, many of us are left with questions, feeling helpless. How do we address the crisis of mental health to prevent violence? How do we combat a culture of hate that targets innocent people based on their religion? How do we heal from the traumas that have become too commonplace in our world? None of these questions can be answered in a week. But it's time to open the dialogue, and I couldn't think of anyone better to talk with tonight than Dr. Daniel Amen. Dr. Amen is an expert on the ins and outs of the human brain and has made it his life's work to end mental illness by creating a revolution in brain health. And Dr. Amen joins me now. Welcome to My View, Dr. Amen. Obviously, this has been quite a week, and when you hear about all of these horrific events, one after another, can you just give us overall your assessment of mental health as it exists right now in our country?
So we're in the worst brain and mental health crisis in history, with 57% of teenage girls report being persistently sad. That 24% have thought of killing themselves and 13% have tried. 25% of the adult population in America is on psychiatric medications. And I don't like the term mental illness because it shames people, it's stigmatizing, and it's wrong. These are brain health issues that steal people's minds. Based on my work, they scanned Kip Kinkle. He murdered his mother and father, and then he went to his high school and shot 25 people. And when you look at his brain, it is so damaged. And that's often the missing link in all of these episodes, that someone's brain is not right, which means their relationships cannot be right, and they're much more likely to engage in these kinds of behavior that is just so horrific, which then lead trauma signatures in the family members and in the people. I was reading some people at Brown University had actually been in other school shootings. This is becoming way too normal.
Well, you know, whenever you look at something like the Brown shooting, you know, I wonder if there's some general consensus among psychiatric professionals that would say, when you have a mass shooting situation like that, are there things that friends and family may be able to look out for on the front end of something like this to maybe, doctor, hopefully prevent another situation like this? Is there some signature that, you know, might trigger someone to say, I don't know, this person needs help, I may need to step in here?
We need a completely new approach to mental illness. I mean, if you think about it now, depression, ADD, anxiety disorders, how are they diagnosed? Based on symptom clusters with no biological data. Psychiatrists are the only medical specialists who virtually never look at the organ they treat. At Amen Clinics, I have 11 clinics around the country. For the last 35 years, we've been looking at the brain, and it taught us that most psychiatric illnesses are not mental health issues, they're brain health issues. Get your brain healthy, your mind will follow.
Well, I hope people are moving in that direction. Obviously, that's what we want. We want people to stay healthy. We want them to be healthy. We want their brains to be healthy. Another really awful thing we saw this week, doctor, was, of course, the Reiner family. This absolute tragedy where you have a son murdering his 2 parents. What is your assessment of that? What can you tell us about that situation?
So Rob Reiner and his son actually made a movie about Nick and talked about problems from an early age, oppositional, argumentative, and then substance abuse, which damages your brain. You know, at our clinics, we've done over 300,000 SPECT scans. And one of the first lessons is the real reason not to use drugs is they damage your brain. And if they damage your brain, they damage your relationships, they damage your ability to be successful, they damage your decision making. And the family obviously had tried over and over, from what I read, 18 drug treatment programs. There's a missing piece. And often that is the health, or in this case, the illness of this person's brain. Now, doesn't excuse it, because there are a lot of people who have troubled brains that don't do anything bad. But if we don't try to look at and understand his brain, we really won't have a complete picture. But I mean, truly horrifying what happened to his parents and his siblings that are left now without parents, but with a fair amount of rage, I would imagine.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of the most awful situations I think any parent can possibly imagine, and anyone can imagine from obviously the siblings' perspective. Now, in Australia, we had this father and son, team who terrorized people based on religion, who went on this shooting spree, and I love when I hear you say that even though this was something that was targeting a faith, we can use faith to get ourselves out of these bad situations. So what can you speak on as it relates to faith and healing and maybe moving forward in a positive direction?
So I think America is in a whole for crisis. Physically, we're not healthy. Mentally, we're struggling. Our relationships are fraying. And 58% of young people live with a lack of meaning and purpose. I believe the answer to these epidemics is not to see them as separate disorders, but actually as different expressions of the same unhealthy lifestyle that will only be solved with a whole for solution. So we have to get our brains and bodies healthy. We have to train and discipline our minds. I call it killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that steal your happiness. We need to reconnect without social media, but all with a sense of meaning and purpose, all knowing that we were created in the image of God and we are here for a purpose, and that purpose is to do good. And so many children today are not raised with that a sense of faith, meaning, purpose, and it's part of the problem we're in.
Well, we need more of what you just said: purpose, moving our bodies, staying healthy physically and mentally. And what a great message to end on. And as we head into a new year, Dr. Daniel Amen. So thank you so much for spending time with us and shedding light on these very heavy topics. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.